Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. Welcome to Adobe's Digital Experience webinar series. This is a monthly, sometimes we do twice a month, recurring series that's been running for a little over a year now, and it gives an opportunity for our customers and our amazing partner community to share their stories with their peers. So thank you again for joining us. Today's topic is why optimizing your checkout is a critical step in 2020. Just some housekeeping items before I introduce the speakers. You are in listen-only mode. We have about 30 minutes, I'm guesstimating 30 minutes of content today, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. You can use the questions section in your GoToWebinar control panel to submit those questions throughout the entire presentation, and we'll either try to get this answered via chat during the Q&A, or we will follow up with you directly afterwards to get you answers to your questions. And no further ado, let me go ahead and introduce today's speakers. Andrew Figgins, the digital commerce product owner from Scrubs and Beyond. This is the Adobe customer who we'll be featuring today, and he's going to tell us all about how he worked with HiConversion for mobile optimization. Ben Virdee-Chapman, VP of Marketing and Product at Adobe's technology partner, HiConversion, will also be joining us. And Ben Shapiro, Solutions Engineer from Adobe Solution Partner, Redstage. I will go ahead and hand things over to Ben Shapiro, I believe.
Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. We'd like to open up here with, the topic question: what is the mobile optimization initiative? High level, it started with our customers and our partners viewing the statistics of their traffic and realizing that for many of them, over 50% of their traffic is coming from mobile users, but their actual conversions were lagging behind the desktop users, and we wanted to know why. Why are we getting so much more traffic from mobile, but we're losing them? We're not actually collecting those conversions. So working with our partners, like with HiConversion, we went in to try to test what we can do to capture more of those conversions. So starting out with collecting data, we begin by putting a tracking tag on your website where we just start by collecting data. Everything from how many visits do we have? How did people add things to cart? Did they just bounce off a page? Did they make it to a product page? How long did they spend in checkout? All of this data gets collected and compiled so we can review it. From there, after reviewing it, we narrow down to various parts of the site which would benefit the most from improvement. So maybe if we're seeing that customers are spending 5 minutes in checkout, that's showing us that that's a place we need to point to. If customers are adding things to their cart and not checking out, for example, that's something that we notice as well. Things where customers are getting to product pages but not adding things to the cart, on and on. There's multiple tests that we can go through here. And then what's so great about this? Well, one of the things is our testing, where we're doing these tests is based on where the data is showing us to go. Back in the day, you used to say, let's just build a new product page, let's build a new home page. No way of knowing if that's really where we should be spending our timeline and our budget to get the most improvement. So by using the data, we can point our customers directly to the places where we can find the best work. From there, an interesting thing is once we initialize these tests on HiConversion, the system actually optimizes for whatever version is performing the best. So for an example, if we're doing a cart optimization, if that new cart optimization is outperforming the baseline, it will show that more and try to capture more of those conversions for our customers. On the flip side, if for some reason it's not performing as well, it'll actually ramp that down in an effort not to lose those conversions. All right. Next slide, if we could.
And I think that just to back up a little bit, for those who are viewing right now, you see these are the Redstage slides, and I should have taken a second. Ben, before we move on, are you able to give just a little bit of an overview on Redstage?
Absolutely. So Redstage is a full service design and development firm. So specializing in Adobe, we grew up with Adobe Magento since the very beginning of Magento 1, since it was a beta. Really providing all of the solutions our customers need to have a successful e-commerce build, as well as ongoing maintenance and optimization. So whether it's design with our creative team, it's implementing a new instance of Magento, it is doing these optimizations, custom integration work, all of these things that we can handle in-house here at Redstage.
Great, thank you. I'm going to progress to slide 4.
Okay. So examples of some of the tests we've done are especially particular to optimizing our checkout experience. The first one, which I'm sure many of you have experienced, is the zip autofill. So when the customer enters their zip code, automatically filling in their city and state. And it obviously that eliminates the potential for typos or errors to be thrown, which slows down or impedes the customer's progress. Simplified cart header is another great one. Removing all of those distractions from the checkout process, whether it's a search bar, additional home buttons, logos, removing those so the customer is fully focused on their checkout experience. And then again, the coupon collapse. Collapsing that coupon code, not removing it. We still want to offer the ability for a customer to enter a coupon code, but collapsing it so if they want to add that coupon code, then they expand it and proceed. You'll see here that the metric we're using is RPV, which stands for revenue per visit. And it's a great way to roll up your traffic, your conversion rate, and your average order value into one high-level metric to judge your performance upon. And that's why we've chosen to go with this metric when evaluating the performance of a specific test. Okay. And a big thing, like we mentioned before, why are we focusing on mobile sales in this initiative? The first one, again, being that the traffic for many of our customers is over 50% mobile. We can see today's shoppers, especially over last year, spending 39% more time shopping mobilely on their mobile device than they are on their desktop. People who have a bad mobile experience, because for many of them, that's the first place they interact with your company and your website. If they have a bad experience the first time, they're less likely to return to your store. And again, we all know the current times, how things are going. Just e-commerce spending as well as screen time in general is up significantly given the state of the world we're in today. So we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to capture all those conversions and those customers and get them purchasing from you on your website. And just to circle back, a test that we did with one of our customers, a lawnmower tire store, which is a subsidiary of Hoosier Wheel. We did a test where we added a sticky cart button. So you'll see keeping that call to action directly in front of the customer. And we found just by doing this, we increased the revenue per visitor over 25%, as well as the mobile over 7%. And those are huge. And the great thing about doing the MOI is that data points us to these little improvements we can make. And for us to implement this was only a couple hours to make a huge, huge return on their investment. All right. Another test specifically for the cart was, again, having this additional call to action on the mobile device where the customer that you'll see that cart will follow them around, always reminding them that it's time to check out. And again, we saw these big improvements.
And Ben, same thing. If you would just give a little bit of an overview of HiConversion before we jump into your slides.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Ben from HiConversion. Thanks for joining us today. I hope everybody's safe and well, working at home or wherever you are. I actually came into our office for the first time in months today to take advantage of Wi-Fi stability. So hopefully I won't be breaking up too much today. So just to give you a quick overview of HiConversion, for those of you who've never heard of us or heard of us and weren't sure what we did. We're an e-commerce conversion rate optimization platform. Years ago, our founding team kind of realized that e-commerce optimization had a huge growth potential for brands selling online, but most were not taking advantage of it. So, in the spirit of trying to figure out more about our customers and how they interact with our sites and buy our products, what motivates them, HiConversion was kind of born, and the idea to create this platform where you can learn about how your customers use the site, you can try and experiment with new ideas to help improve conversions, even personalization. So our platform is an all-in-one sort of total solution. We've spent literally years building a homegrown offering of analytics, testing, and personalization. It's probably some of the best on the market. And our sort of secret sauce, I guess, is some of the sort of machine learning that we use in the background. Can predict and automate how tests are run. It can begin to allocate traffic to experiments that are performing better. So even during testing with our technology, merchants and e-commerce teams can actually experience revenue lift. Typically, when you run A/B testing, you would have to wait for that test to end. That could be anything from days to weeks to months. So we created this system, which is, it's verified by merchants. So everything we do is obviously tested in the real world. We put that data back into our system. We curate that. Our team of analysts and experts curate those experiments, and then we run it through AI. So we're kind of combining these three pillars. I've started to call it e-commerce intelligence. It's a combination of kind of human expertise and machine kind of power. So maybe we can jump into the next slide. Cool. So as Ben from Redstage, I'm Ben version 2 here. So Ben and Redstage set the stage for what we're talking about here today, around checkout and mobile checkout in particular. So I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story around how we see the checkout and where it's been and where it's going. So checkouts used to simply be about collecting money from your visitors online. Once it generally worked, once you set it up, perhaps a developer or the agency kind of set this thing up for you, you pretty much forgot about it. As long as it kind of worked and did the job of collecting money, that was good enough. So it kind of became a blind spot for a lot of teams. You didn't know it was a problem, so you weren't really looking at it. And typically the attention gets turned to, driving more traffic or attracting more traffic to your site and sending that into the checkout in the hope of converting more visitors. So the game really was, how can we just send more people through the checkout? If we have an okay conversion rate, we just send more people through and we'll convert, to our kind of expectations. However, any improvement to that checkout obviously has a direct impact on revenue, because it's kind of the toll booth to your site. So this kind of got us thinking, and in the work that we've done through the MOI, looking at literally hundreds of checkouts on all different types of sites, the best checkouts today are actually unique to every brand, because every brand is unique. So, and they also understand how their visitors like to buy. However, with this rapid growth of mobile commerce, again, which Ben from Redstage touched on, increasing traffic, however, the conversion rate doesn't match something like desktop. This actually created an extra level of complexity around the checkout. So it kind of became impossible for any individual merchant to really know number one, is their checkout experience actually converting more visitors, and is my checkout good compared to, say, the rest of the industry? So this kind of problem arose where nobody's really on top of this checkout experience. And the tools and data that are available to most teams are sort of limited. It's like this one size fits all approach is no longer viable. If you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, sorry, I should have said that. So this is kind of, we're seeing this new skill emerge, the skill to meticulously manage your checkout experience, because like I said, your brand is unique, so it actually demands a unique checkout experience. And that could mean anything from the type of payments you offer, how your checkout is positioned in your customer journey, where do you engage people with the cart, and then also the details and the UX around the actual checkout experience. Things like zip codes and the actual usage of the checkout. So there's literally millions of combinations of things that you can experiment and play with. But it all kind of starts with the ability to sort of measure where your checkout is today. If you've done none of this stuff before, if you're using a generic checkout experience, the best place to start is to start measuring what you have right now. However, in the busy life of an e-commerce team, and this is based on what we've heard in our conversations and our work, nobody really has time for this to get good at checkout. So that leads me into introducing Andrew from Scrubs and Beyond. So he's joining us as our merchant representative today, and this is really the kind of the story that Andrew shared with us, and we kind of worked with him on. And his boss, I think it was towards the end of last year, gave him a mission to fix or improve their mobile checkout. So I'll hand over to Andrew now, and he can kind of give you a little bit of a story on Scrubs and Beyond, and how they ended up focusing on the checkout.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. And just to kind of set expectations, Scrubs and Beyond is actually a purveyor of nursing scrubs. So our customers are nurses, people that work for vet clinics and dental clinics. And, Ben, I think picking up from where you kind of left off there, like we had actually tried to make our checkout great, to set the stage. We had kind of just migrated from Magento 1 to Magento 2 a couple months prior to our CEO kind of, giving us the mission to make our mobile checkout great again. We had done a lot of, mobile first design as part of that migration. And, really what we saw immediately after we launched is that there were improvements, but they weren't shockingly great improvements. And so, our ROI wasn't quite being realized at that time. So, I got charged with that from my CEO, make mobile checkout great again, and I was off to look for a solution. So if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about how you started to look for solutions. There's a lot of places you could start. Obviously, it looks like you started with Google. So like yes. Most of us when we start search. So talk us through your process for trying to figure out how you would tackle this.
Yeah, I mean, this screenshot wasn't taken that day, but it may as well have been, because this is where I literally started. I typed this into Google and I got 5 million results, and immediately felt extremely overwhelmed. I wondered, how do any of these results relate back to my customers? I was looking for a real solution, and I found that a lot of these results, there's a lot of kind of numbered lists of generalized best practices, and there's a lot of kind of paywall content that in some cases is very expensive, but there just wasn't much of that true expertise that was easily accessible. It was really hard to find. And that really kind of led me to the Mobile Optimization Institute. I ended up coming across that, and what struck me is that I could see those results. They were published. It wasn't like it was hidden behind a paywall, or I didn't have to register to see that. I could see details about those tests, and I could see the results, and that was fantastic. And really, out of all those options that I had available to me, whether it was getting really, insanely deep in my mobile analytics with analytics tools, or researching through all those mobile conversion best practices, or conducting user testing, or redesigning my checkout from scratch, again, performing A/B testing on mobile really stood out to me.
Got it. And this is actually a screen grab of the mobile optimized website. Again, anybody on this call can kind of go and look at this. As I think there's over 130 experiments. Most of them are listed there, and they're all in varying stages of progress. Some of them have been running for 18 months, some are brand new. So some really interesting stuff there. But Andrew, you went through a bunch of different potential avenues that you could have kind of taken, and you landed on this A/B testing concept. So just let me get this right. You're basically saying, your goal was to sort of put the customer at the center of your decision. So maybe just tell us a little bit how testing could help you do that.
Yeah, I needed to move fast. I think that was part of it too. And I wanted to really, I wanted the customer's voice to speak more loudly to me than, theories, and even my own theories. I certainly brought a few of those, to the table. I think various people at my organization had a lot of theories to add as well. Here's why checkout's not converting as well as we want, or this other reason. And I really wanted our customers to guide that evolution, so that it wasn't just, a small group of a few of us kind of dictating and saying it needs to be this or that, but really let the customers do that. And that's what A/B testing allowed us to do. And as we kind of get into it, it wasn't real complicated to find the tests that we wanted to test with either. We really relied upon what we saw in the Mobile Optimization Institute. And, a lot of it was trying to make mobile checkout as simple as possible. And a lot of it related to removing what we ultimately found out were unnecessary elements. So even in this kind of baseline versus treatment example, you can see here that the baseline for our mobile checkout used to have a keep shopping link, and that the logo, our logo was there at the left instead of in the center. And our treatment was removing the keep shopping link and putting our logo in the middle, and adding another instance of our PayPal button. So this is the shipping step of checkout. We didn't used to have that PayPal button there. And all three of those things turned out to be successful in our tests. And we found testing to be, a way to get to the truth. So to cut right through that theory and get to the truth of what our customers, what mattered to them.
And in terms of, the rest of your team, like you say, we often bring our kind of institutional knowledge, our experience, our instinct. So, something like this is, I guess it's obvious removing distractions may help conversions, but, that's quite a small thing on the screen. So, did any of this kind of surprise, you or your team? Did anyone have to kind of eat their hat in terms?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I certainly ate my hat on some occasions through our testing, and others on my team did as well. It always surprised us. And I think actually what may have surprised us the most is that in some cases it just took some very simple tweaks. That was probably the best answer to me as a product owner that came out of this, is that we really didn't need to tear down our mobile checkout from scratch and rebuild it. It just turned out to be a few things that, for us, were just distracting our customers from really kind of accomplishing what they needed to, which was just get through, you know, a really simple mobile cart, get through a simple mobile checkout, make sure that we're offering them the payment options that are important to them, like PayPal. And you can see this is our cart test that we did. Really, you know, very similar in what we took away from that first test. You know, we took that header area that on the left there for the baseline, you can see we had, you know, in addition to our logo, we had our search bar, we had a link to our store locations page, a mini cart icon, and a menu icon that would open the entire kind of mega menu for the site. And this was one of those tests that definitely had a lot of debate around it as well, you know, including from some of our executives who, you know, really thought, you know, this is very simplified, but how do people continue to shop? Which was a valid question, you know. And it turned out that more people were willing to either they were only going to the cart when they were ready to check out, which was the case, or they're completely willing to go back to that homepage, and they kind of see that homepage as their guiding star to, you know, adding more things to the bag. But again, we kind of let our customers direct that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have a UX background, so you know, methodologies like, you know, interviewing visitors or observing them use the site, you know, gets you so far, but the reality is, you know, you can't really begin to imagine how people at scale use these sites. You know, they're walking, they're sitting on the toilet, whatever. I mean, there's just so many different scenarios and motivations behind how people use sites. So I think this is like a really fascinating kind of peek into, you know, small changes can influence or adapt to how people actually want to use their site. And I just wanted to share this graph, which, you know, perhaps some people on here have already seen. I know this was shared pretty heavily on LinkedIn and Twitter amongst the e-commerce crowd, but you know, this says to me that e-commerce in the last you know, 8 weeks or so has really, you know, evolved like a 10-year picture before it. So from 2009 to 2019, you know, e-commerce penetration was up about 10 points, and it's just gone from, you know, 16 to 27, so another 11 in 8 weeks. So, you know, there's definitely something happening here. I don't think all of us really know exactly what that is, other than there's a lot of growth, and whether that will settle down or achieve a new plateau. But I think this again represents why something like checkout is so important today, especially because there's so much more traffic kind of coming through our sites, and we want to make sure that we're kind of set up to take advantage of that. So again, Andrew, you know, in the spirit of what we're talking about here, the checkout, mobile checkout, for, you know, for Scrubs, you know, your business, like, especially during this period that's been so, you know, crazy for everybody, you know, what has it really meant to your business?
Yeah, it's been the lifeblood of our business for sure, but, you know, also we're serving people that are, you know, they're working in critical jobs. You know, we like to say that our customers are saving the world, and so, you know, for us, we try to do our part, which I think kind of guides us as well. It guides our thinking. You know, we're trying to make sure that the caregivers out there, that our site's making them feel good, feel confident, and ultimately feel cared for. And so, you know, part of that is making sure that they are able to, you know, have a mobile checkout that works for them. And increasingly, as, you know, demand certainly increased with COVID and the number of people on mobile devices, I think it was upwards of 70%. Those were new things for us. So we were just thankful that we, you know, were able to take advantage of some of these tests and get some of these results, you know, before the crisis really hit.
That's great.
I think we're right at 28 minutes. So was there anything else that the speakers would like to add before we take Q&A? And if we do that, go ahead and put your questions into the question section of your GoToWebinar panel, and I will get those asked. Any closing remarks, guys?
I would just say, like, I think there is something that HiConversion and Redstage are, offering to Magento merchants as part of this, and I would just encourage merchants to take advantage of it. I think it's a great opportunity to use a testing tool like HiConversion without a lot of strings attached. And I think, just encourage Magento merchants to take advantage of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Perfect call out. So for those of you on the line, if you are interested in finding out more about that 1 month of free A/B testing, go ahead and send your email or just raise your hand in the panel, and I will get all of those and all that information over to the speakers today. And we do have some questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and read those out. Oh, and actually, if we could just, Ben or Dawn, if somebody could post the website address to sign up for those mobile checkouts in the chat to everybody, I think that would be great. We'll also include that in the follow-up email. And first question, do you expect mobile shopping to rise in popularity post-COVID due to higher user adoption rate? I'm not sure who wants to take that.
I can jump in here. I think so. I don't, coming from, before working at Redstage, I came from the engineering and construction fields, and not only the consumer side of e-commerce is, I think, going to go, and it might dip a little bit post-COVID because people are excited to go back out to the stores, but it forced people to learn and accept online shopping, whether it's for clothing or foodstuffs. And additionally, it forced a lot of B2B companies to also move online, where you couldn't send your sales rep to on-site or to a visit. So I think we'll actually see an uptick in B2B e-commerce also continuing forward as people realize that they can do this type of commerce online.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. Just jumping in there, I agree with Ben. I think there's a whole new cohort of people who have, not just the brands, but consumers who have had no choice but to buy online. Just a quick anecdote, my mom, she's in her 70s. She ordered her groceries for the first time ever, during this process. So I think, that's just the data point of one, but I think that's common amongst, countries that have been impacted by this. So I think maybe it's not mobile itself, but just the general sense of buying online and, being comfortable doing that has definitely changed. And I think that's going to continue.
Great, and we do have, so for those of you on the line, Dawn with Redstage did post that link to the mobile optimization testing. Please let me know again if you are interested in that 1 month free qualification. And looks like we have some questions coming in specifically about the test as well. So do the tests work for every kind of website?
I mean, I can take that one. I think that's a little bit of a nebulous question, but the answer is yes. Obviously, this is focused on e-commerce, and we're on the Magento platform here. So HiConversion has built the technology to work on every kind of website. If that means different industries, absolutely. We work across all sorts of different industries, from fashion, beauty, copper pipes, you name it. So pretty much every website, providing you have decent traffic, you'll get some results.
Right. We've even started testing with some of our non-e-commerce pages, I guess you could say. Like, we've been testing some informational pages, and we've been using bounce rate as kind of a way to see, we'll make some changes and then we'll evaluate, well, did the bounce rate improve or did it get worse? So I think even if I hope that most of the people on here are, merchants or, e-commerce aficionados, but if you're not, there might even be some cases where testing makes sense.
Yeah, as a marketer, I'd love to get more information on, mobile specific downloads and that type of conversion. So I'd love to talk to you guys more about that. And moving on with the testing questions, what does it take to start testing?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So typical engagement with someone on the program with us begins with us installing the tracking script on your site, so in this case, Magento, we install the tracking script, we make sure that it's showing up through the whole shopping funnel. Depending on the amount of traffic and conversions you get on your site, typically we let that run anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, just collecting the data. We want to know what we're working with and really narrow down that funnel to where the most improvement can be made. And typically checkout is almost always one of those things. From there, we look at features you might already have implemented. So you might already have that zip autofill implemented. So we'll move past that one. Pick a campaign of anywhere from 3 to 5 tests, if not more, if they're applicable. We then, using the HiConversion platform, can inject, we code it to specifically work with your site. So there's going to be maybe some HTML or CSS changes that need to be made to make it fit your specific site. We make those changes. At Redstage, we show the example to the customer, let them review it before pushing live. Once we get the okay, we push that test live. We let that run again from anywhere, typically a month, if not a little bit longer, depending on your traffic conversion rate, to collect that data to see the performance. At the completion of that, we stop the test and then we evaluate that data. We put together a report and present it to your team.
Great breakdown, thank you. And I think we have time for 2 more questions, trying to keep this under 40 minutes. But again, we do have everybody's questions that have been submitted, so we'll follow up with you directly. How do I know which tests are best for me?
I can take that one. So, yeah, I would say there's probably a couple of approaches here, but just for this, for this quick answer, I would say let the data guide you. So, part of this process is measuring and quantifying how your visitors are using the website, and you're quickly going to discover friction in your funnel. So I would say, use the data to show you where you might be able to start. Alternatively, you may have ideas. That's great. But typically we recommend starting with the data and the insights that we can gather from that.
All right, and last question, and I really like this one. What payment options have you seen work the best?
I can speak to that a little bit. I think it's an array of them. I think that you always want to offer, a credit card option, but if you're able to offer some express options as well, that's where you can really see your customers start to engage with that. Through some of our testing, we ultimately decided that we would add Amazon Pay as an additional express option along with PayPal, and have done some initial testing of that. That's starting to prove out positively for us. So I think depending on industry too, or B2B versus B2C, B2B sometimes you'll want like a way to pay by check or to pay with a routing number and an account number. So yeah, it just depends on kind of what your use case is, but typically it's the more payment options you have, the better. You don't want your cart page or checkout page to look like a NASCAR car, but if If you can avoid that, then usually you'll be in a good way.
Yep, Andrew hit it right on the nose. We did another program with HiConversion and PayPal called the Mobile Wallet, where we did test these, the Express PayPal, as well as your Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay. Now, if you currently utilize Braintree, you can also use Venmo as an option. We've also found for companies that are offering bigger ticket items, so say over $500 or $1,000, there's big uptick in the use of the payment option providers such as PayPal Credit, Affirm, Afterpay. Those sites for sites with big ticket items are also becoming very popular. But like Andrew said, having those quick pay options like PayPal Express, your Apple, Google Pay, Amazon Pay are always good. And then again, another B2B use case would be allowing your customers, and sometimes this requires customization, allowing your customers to pay with a purchase order is a big one that we run into here at Redstage.
Right. I think what we're realizing is, like you personalize other parts of your site, payments is no different. That's where it's moving to, is personalization of payment, and all of those different options available. There's millions of combinations of payment buttons, position, styling, design. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, but getting that right, it's kind of a Goldilocks problem. But once you can get that right, it does have a massive impact on conversions and your RPV.
Agreed. As a frequent online shopper myself, as long as I don't have to get out my credit card, I'm happy. I think that takes us to perfect timing. Thank you so much, Andrew with Scrubs and Beyond, for joining us, and both of the Bens and the entire team at HiConversion and Redstage. And of course, thank you so much for everybody who took the time to join today. Again, you're going to get an email with access to the recording, so you can view that again, and the link to sign up for the test and learn more. So thank you everybody for the time today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.